My only question is, going back to Schumer, why don't you get a bipartisan vote? This is what Democrats don't understand. They don't understand. So you can't get 100% of what you want. You can't get 80% of what you want. Maybe get 60% of what you want so you can say.
Joe Scarborough is about to give Democrats a losing strategy, which they've already tried and have lost with repeatedly.
We have a bipartisan bill, right? It's just like the Electoral Count Act, which desperately needs to be passed. Democratic leaders, no, we're not going to do it because we can't get the whole loaf. It's time these people wake up. Take the wins you can get. And if you got a bipartisan bill on abortion rights, you take it, even if it's 60% of what you want. Because then you can say, we have a bipartisan group of senators, a bipartisan majority saying that what the Supreme Court's thinking about doing is wrong.
MSNBC's Joe Scarborough, along with other, I guess, Democrat-leaning political pundits, happen to be some of the dumbest people I have ever encountered in this space. And I mean that with my whole being. Because this guy there in his air-conditioned fancy studio, completely oblivious to the fact that we're dealing with a right wing in America that not only wants to ban women's reproductive rights, their right to an abortion, but they don't even want to make an exception in most cases when it comes to incest, when it comes to rape. Wants to Democrats a bipartisan bill, at least some reproductive rights protected. Is he living in the same country? Apparently not. Apparently I don't know if he's on drugs when he does the show. I don't know if he's just super lazy and doesn't bother paying attention to what's happening in Congress. But I want to remind him of just one short video featuring Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell and what he said is on his agenda during the Biden administration. Let's watch that.
100% of my focus is on stopping this new administration.
100% of my focus is stopping Joe Biden's administration, meaning serving as an obstructionist, as he did during the Obama years, to anything the Democratic Party wants to do today. That is a video from 2021. I know Joe Scarborough covered it. Is he stupid? Did he forget? Does he genuinely think that Democrats moving further to the right to appease the American Taliban in this country is somehow going to translate into women regaining their reproductive rights? Is that really what he thinks? Because I don't believe that he actually thinks that. And if he does, he is genuinely one of the dumbest people on television.
Well, I have other reasons why he's dumb too. But he's mainly disingenuous, in my opinion. So first of all, he says, take the win. But wait, Joe, which win? Because the bill you're referring to, even if you compromise with Murkowski and Collins, only gets to 52 votes. And they're not willing to overturn the filibuster. In fact, Chuck Schumer's not even gonna vote on it. So that has no chance of passage, zero. That's not a conjecture. That is just a fact of legislative procedure. And Joe Scarborough does know that. So what win are you referring to? If you said, hey, they're gonna codify Roe, but there's gonna be some provisions you don't like, and so take the 60%, I would seriously consider that, because then at least we would guarantee abortion rights in the country, most importantly, protect the right of women to make the choice, and maybe there's some painful compromise. But there is no such bill. And it has no chance of passing. So what do you, honestly, if you're not a liar, Joe Scarborough, what are you referring to? And so my guess is he'll fall back on, well, it's true, it won't pass and it won't change anything, but it'll give the appearance of bipartisanship. And how would that help? Because they think, oh no, because the American people love things that are bipartisan. Do they? Do you think the MAGA crowd would be like, oh, the Republicans worked with Democrats, that was bipartisan. Oh, I really like that, I will now vote for them. No, if the Republicans ever work with Democrats, MAGA would rip their heads off. That's why Mitch McConnell says, oh no, we will never work with Democrats. You don't know that phenomenon? Who's rewarding bipartisanship? No, you're talking about the 1990s where you guys would pass out, because he was in Congress as a Republican, you guys would pass all these bills, including, by the way, all the way through the Trump era, where they would do tax cuts for the rich and they would call it bipartisan. And then the media, like Scarborough, would then come out and do propaganda and go, oh, look, everybody agrees that the rich should get more. Everybody agrees, it's bipartisan. In this case and in this world, bipartisan doesn't help you at all. But it does, but this is important, guys, but it would help Murkowski and Collins, who are Republicans, pretend they're pro-choice while knowing that the bill's never gonna pass. So in fact, Joe Scarborough, who is a Republican, but now is on MSNBC, so he's considered left wing. In Washington, they're jokes, right? He says, help my Republican friends do marketing. No, Joe, we're not gonna do that. But don't worry, Joe, no, none of the Democrats in Washington are gonna listen to us anyway, okay? They hate progressives, they'll love what you said. Oh, help the Republicans do marketing and not actually pass anything? They're like, oh, why didn't somebody tell us this before? They're gonna love your idea. In fact, they're actually in the middle of doing it right now, so I don't know what you're yelling and screaming about. And lastly, on all the idea of, you guys, progressives just want the whole loaf, they're so unreasonable and practical. That is one of the top brainwashing methods that mainstream media uses to make sure they protect corporate Democrats in Democratic primaries. So I ask you, Joe, where's the 60% on child tax credit, on paid family leave, on lower drug prices, on minimum, on any
voting
topic?
rights.
Voting rights.
Voting rights. Where are the voting rights? Where are they? Where's police reform? Where's all of that?
None of it. There's no 60%. There's no middling proposal. There's none of it, okay? So the only thing that has some counter proposal was, they said out of the thousands of drugs that are in the country that are all like killing us because we can't afford it, like literally killing us, the corporate Democrats proposed that they would limit prices on 5 of them. 5 out of thousands. Why? Because those 5 are unimportant and it's marketing. So then Joe Scarborough can come back out and go, they did a bipartisan agreement, it's amazing. Amazing, the prices are lower now on drugs. For 5 drugs, but not the thousands of others. Okay, so is that the 60% you're referring to, Joe lying Scarborough? By the way, that bitch, when I was on MSNBC, cried to mommy and asked the head of MSNBC to get me to stop criticizing him because his feelings were hurt.
Oh, poor Joe Scarborough. Oh, you go whine to mommy and daddy. Was Cenk being very mean to you?
I was in the middle of lying when Cenk said things that were true. Cenk's not allowed to say things that are true. This is corporate media. Why did you let him say things that are true? He ruined my lie.
Thing for Joe Scarborough, a former Republican member of Congress, to give unsolicited advice to the Democratic Party. But it's something entirely different for the Democratic Party to take that advice. And I just want to note, they have taken that advice, and it wasn't today, it wasn't yesterday. They've been using that strategy on now, regardless of what their own voters want, regardless of what their base wants. And the reason why they do it, it always goes back to the money. They'll give you all sorts of excuses. They'll talk about the parliamentarian, they'll talk about the filibuster, they'll talk about, it's the moderates in our party, what could we do? But there's always a convenient excuse to help provide cover for the fact that they just happen to share the same corporate donors as the Republican Party. That's it. They're all friends. Same mutuals. That is priority number 1 for the Democratic Party. And for anyone who thinks, well, I don't know, maybe it's just that the Democrats are weak, maybe they're a little spineless and maybe we need to give them a little more confidence, a little more courage. Oh, no. They're not weak and they're not spineless. And we've seen the way that they're able to fight and play politics when it comes to progressives within their ranks. So we know that they have the capability to fight. It's just that they'll never fight unless it's someone who's going against their corporate donors.
Okay, to give you a perfect sense of that last point here, Joe Scarborough certainly stopped being a Republican. I believe he switched to being a Democrat during the Trump years. Do you know how many of his positions he changed? None, because they're the same positions, whether you're a corporate Republican or a corporate Democrat. Okay, so then you tell me, how's the Democratic Party any different than the Republican Party? The whole thing's a joke, man. And they pay people like Scarborough a lot of money to do marketing on their behalf. Not the actual news, not anywhere near it. No facts at all. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.